Okay, moving along, we'll talk about this idea of realigning priorities. This is akin to the sort of learning model that I talked about previously with the cognitive behavioral therapy. The exemplar of this is this idea of contingency management. So this is a really interesting paradigm. Basically, what it's saying is that you are using well-defined incentives or sanctions that you're implementing relative to an accessible target behavior. So this particular technique is used a lot in the criminal justice system. So folks ever heard of a drug court or diversion program? Some nods. What this is referring to is that someone, for example, may get picked up for a drug charge, a possession charge, let's say. They go before the judge, and the judge says, okay, you got two options. You can go into jail, or you can face full charges for this, or I'll give you an opportunity to engage in what's called a diversion program. In the diversion program, there are certain things that you have to do. You have to show up for this many appointments, you have to check in with this person, you have to engage in all of these things. If you do that, then I will lower your charges or wipe them out altogether. So here's your option. You can do either of these two things. So in the diversion programs, they use a lot of this, which is that let's say that you have a target behavior, so like a negative drug screen. So that's what you're trying to get to. So if you have that target behavior, so target behavior, yes, you'll get praised for it. You'll get gift certificates, verbal praise. You may be able to draw from a pot to kind of, with variable amounts of reward, like a free ice cream cone or something like that. So if you adhere to, if you give the target behavior being the negative drug screen, you have the negative drug screen, you get positive things, you get incentives. You don't, that drug screen turns up positive, you get sanctioned. So you get additional electronic monitoring, you get some writing assignments, you get community service. So again, you're trying to tip the balance towards the target behavior by using incentives or sanctions. Now we know this works, and a lot of studies have demonstrated that this approach works. Now, there are certain key components to this that have to be in place. So one is that the target behavior and incentives and sanctions, they have to be concrete and clear. There has to be no question, there has to be no gray area about what we're talking about for a target behavior and when you're falling short of it and when you're meeting it. That has to be crystal clear. We also know that the reinforcement, the sanction or the incentive, has to happen relatively close to the time that the event took place. Now, the example I love to talk about is that I'm at home, my son, let's say, bites my daughter, and I'm watching the game, and I'm like, you know what? That's bad, but I want to finish watching the game. We're going to talk about this in an hour. Okay? Any of you have kids? How well does that work? Okay, it doesn't work. The idea being that you have to you have to tie the incentive or the sanction in close time proximity to when it happens. So when the urine drug screen turns up positive, sanction right away. Okay, you can't wait 2 weeks in order to do it. We also know that if the reward increases in time, people are more likely to continue to stick with the incentive and stick with and adhere to the target behavior. We know that relative to other interventions, it's strong and a consistent efficacy. Now, remember I told you about that sleeper effect with cognitive behavioral therapy? This is different. What we see is that when people exit the program, the effects don't tend to last like they did with the cognitive behavioral therapy.
Does someone you love suffer from drug addiction? Accidental drug overdoses are the #1 cause of unnatural deaths. Don't wait until it's too late. Call our 24/7 helpline at 1-800-648-6734. A caring addiction specialist is awaiting your call.